if you don't really make it in the business, then you become a teacher. I don't like that statement.
There are many drum teachers in the world, from young drummers who want to show a friend how to play a beat through self-employed or full-time teachers at a music school. But there is one teacher that stands out: Claus Hessler. We are happy to visit him at home, where we got an insight into his personal approach to teaching. Being a drummer and a teacher, Claus has created his own unique way of playing and teaching. So let's hear what some of his students have to say about Claus.
I think Claus is not only a drum teacher with a really great experience. He is also, I think, at the moment, one of the top players of his genre.
I guess he has that sense of teaching drums without making it a religion. You need that technique or that rudiment to get further along your way.
I think at the moment there's really not many guys that have such a clean technique like Claus it has. And I think for me it really fits to me, to my style, what he's doing.
He's very considerate with everything you do. He sees what you can do and he sees how you play and he tries to work with that. He looks at what I'm doing and what I can do, and then he tries to tell me where I maybe can go a different way or take a different approach.
Yeah, I think I really can learn a lot from him, so yeah, that's really cool.
Obviously, Claus has his own specialties: molar technique, rudiments, open-handed playing, combined with a vast amount of knowledge about drums and drummers. He also is an author of well-known drum books and DVDs. On top of that, he played with such greats as Mike Stern and Randy Brecker, just to name a few. We asked Claus some questions about his approach to teaching and playing.
It's the personal requests of the student. I mean, what does that student consider as a certain weakness? Or quite some of them do come with requests in terms, oh, I want to be better with technique. I feel there's challenges with movements, motions, understanding how all of these different things sort of lock into each other. And at times it's also like a process even of, I would say, cleaning up certain misconceptions. So it's a variety of things, and what I do many times is I just have the students play me a couple of minutes, just something. I mean, not the most complex stuff that they can think of. I mean, basically just playing a couple of grooves and having them do what they think they are pretty good at. Honestly speaking, I think I never decided to be a teacher. That was not it. I wanted to understand drums and drumming in the best possible way. I wanted to be the best drummer I could be, and by understanding how this whole puzzle of drumming works, you have to come up with a good amount of knowledge about how all the details work together. And once you understand that for yourself, chances are that you can explain that puzzle to a third person. I just sort of found myself being a teacher, but I think I never decided to be one. To some degree, you have to enjoy teaching. That's important. And another important aspect is you have to give your students the feeling that that it's possible to guide them. You are serving as a guide in the best possible sense to take your student from one level to another, and that requires trust. So you have to create an environment, an atmosphere in which the student is trusting you. Trust is a very important thing, and you have to create that environment of trust, I think. There's different spots inside the room that I can use also to make the teaching process a bit more enjoyable. And to me personally, I mean, things like mirror, pad, rudimental drums, drum set, those different scenarios are pretty important to also add some more, how would you say, liveliness to that whole process. Make sure that when you arrange your room for teaching, it doesn't need any extra setup. You just go into that room and you can start teaching from minute one. Imagine your first student is coming in, and you say, oh wait, I still got to set up that pedal. Oh, and this set of drums, I still need to go grab some cymbals. And oh wait, my books that I wanted, the stuff I wanted to teach you is still in the car. So you have everything in spot. So you go into that room, your student enters the room, you can just start teaching right away. There's no extra procedure of setting up, searching for things, cleaning up the room, any of that. You are ready to go. When I record myself or when I record a student, usually I have like 2 overheads and a kick drum, and that's totally enough to have a good idea of how certain things actually sound in order to check, okay, is that really the exercise, or is there something wrong with timing or balance of the sounds? And many times it's even better to judge, say, all around volume wise balance inside the kit if you have less microphones set up, because that really gives you, I think, a much better idea of oh, is like my hi-hat always too soft and the snare always too loud and the bass drum is somewhat not in the proper spot. So I mean, many times the minimalistic solutions work better than the highly sophisticated ones that just need more time to set up everything and just leave more room for malfunction, let's say. You have a number of I mean, outstanding drummers which are not always outstanding teachers. At times you have people that have both qualities, being good drummers and good teachers. Sometimes it's a process of name me your 5 top drummers. What would they be? Blah, 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 blah. So you go check them out and you say, okay, do they have books out? Do they have any sort of educational material out? Have I seen them in some sort of educational environment? Or have I just seen them perform and play? If they are ready to teach you, and then you might start with just, say, a lesson on Skype, or you travel there, and you come up with a decision of, okay, that was one lesson. Was that enjoyable? Did I get some important information that was relevant for me? Or was it just like random, I don't know, not really a plan, no real concept whatsoever? And then you have to come up with a decision, do I want to repeat that process of studying with that person? And that's usually the questions you have to ask for yourself. So a teacher is just a guide. The work still is on you, the student, but it's important to come up with some reflected opinion. Did I like that information I was given, and did that help me? And once you can answer both questions with yes, then you may look into another repeat of that lesson, and you sort of build a more steady contact to that person. It makes you proud when you find yourself in that business and you travel to different countries and you play big drum events and you meet people and that used to be your heroes. So I mean, just more recently, it turns out that that quite some of the people that you would possibly look at as some sort of role model or some hero would go and ask for my expertise on their drumming. So let's say somebody like David Garibaldi, for instance, who's taking lessons with me on a pretty constant basis, and just came here in July, a couple of weeks ago, and we spent like a whole day of drumming down in the basement. And same, for instance, with people like Daniel Adair, and I mean that's just like a little story on the side here. When Daniel approached me, he said, "Yeah, I took some lessons with Dom Famularo, and I came across your name, and I saw your Drumeo appearance, and I really liked that, and I thought you just had it all together, and I want to take lessons with that guy." So the interesting thing about that is that both of them, like Daniel and David just as well, they don't have a problem with studying, and I am studying as well. I mean, make no mistake, I'm trying to improve my craft on a daily basis as good as I can, and I never stop researching and trying to push my personal limits. And that's pretty much what players like those are doing on the same point. So I mean, you asked about things I was proud of. I mean, teaching calibers like those, that's something I'm proud of, sure. Being on the road with the band while you're still active as a teacher with a lot of international activities also is something which at times just creates a clash of interests. So you got to make your choice. Okay, where's the money? What is what I love doing, and where are the opportunities to play, and what is the mix of all of that? So the overwhelming amount of work that I do for sure is in the educational field. So I always get to see the different sides of the business, and I just enjoy that mix. The personal needs of the student are priority number one. I really try to have it a very personal learning experience by making the strong sides of the student even stronger and adding something to that which the student possibly hasn't been looking into before, but also trying to reduce the number of weak spots as good as I can. The more advanced your students are, the more they seem to understand that it's important to have some basic foundation and just working technique. You don't have to be virtuoso, but you have to understand how the stick is working for you without killing yourself, and you have to understand how technique works in the most fluent, effortless way. And if you unlock that secret, there's chances that you can play well into your 70s or 80s, just as Chapin did, and as many of the other greats who are not with us anymore, they did the same way. So finding a way that technique works fluent, effortless, and without killing yourself, that's like a big goal. And most of the advanced students I'm teaching, they come up with questions like that. How do I get to that point? My biggest influences, I mean, I should make a difference between people that influenced me as teachers in an educational setting, I should say, and there is a big difference to drummers that influenced me during a certain period of my life, because I liked their drumming and I liked the music that the band that they were playing with. So, I mean, education-wise, I should say by far the biggest influence is for sure Jim Chapin. So, honestly, there's hardly a day that I do not think of Jim. I mean, because I mean the leftovers of him are like everywhere in my teaching room. There are pictures and there are sticks and there are certain things that remind me of Jim, And of course, during the lessons, when people ask me about technique, I mean, how would I speak about technique without thinking about gym? It's actually not possible. So that was a very intense relationship, and I'm grateful for having that experience and that learning experience in my life. I would not be the drummer and I would not be the teacher I am without Chapin. Of course, I have to mention Dom Famularo, because he was helping not just with technique and all-around understanding of certain drumming aspects, but also as, I would even say, as a role model. But if somebody asked me, who would you like to come back as, I would possibly say Dom Famularo. I will not mention Colaiuta, because he's like the all-time hero, okay? I will not talk about Steve Gadd, who is another like superhero of mine, and as we all have those.
So as you can see, it is not at all the case that being a teacher means that you are a failed musician. In fact, being a good teacher means you have to be a good musician and also have particular social skills on top of that. Only teaching in order to have financial security is probably the wrong way to go. Or, as Claus put it,
if you don't enjoy teaching to some degree, stay away from it.